Welcome to Overtime on Inferno, your weekly roundup of all the big stories in CSGO, quicker than South's reign of terror. A quick reminder to rate and review us at the end of the episode. It really helps us. I am Logan. This is Aizyesque. On today's episode, we talk about, well, obviously, South disbanding, Spellin standing in for Breeze, Navi winning the ESL Pro Tour and the Grand Slam, and the death of Dreamhack as we know it. Roll the intro. So we were supposed to have somebody on the show today.
Yeah.
And then they slept through their call time. So they're on next week. So I guess my question is to you is how is it waking up early to get ghosted?
I'm used to getting ghosted at this point. So it's not that bad. It also isn't that early for me either. It was 1 p.m. for me, which is pretty early. Because of my screwed up sleeping pattern. I mean, I genuinely did have to set an alarm to make sure I was up for 1 p.m. That's not a joke.
I believe that tracks.
But yeah, no. What can I say? It could have been better, but now I have to get up early again next week. So.
Yeah, I was up at the ungodly hour of like 7:15, so I could shower and make coffee before we started this. Oh yeah, that terrible hour.
If I have to be up like at 9 o'clock, I shower the day before and do not shower in the morning.
That's how I wake up, man. Showering day of.
Yeah, I mean that would be how I would wake up. But the thing is, I just don't wake up until midday, and I just do whatever I have to do for 3 hours, and suddenly I'm like, how the hell did I get here?
All right, let's go talk about important things that happened this weekend. Navi won the Grand Slam in what I'd be willing to say is like the most subtle fashion. Like I didn't realize. Well, no, the thing is, I didn't realize they were winning the Grand Slam until they had won it, and they went, "Oh yeah, they won the Grand Slam."
I mean, they said it a lot on broadcast.
To be honest, I was listening on mute. I was watching.
That would be why you didn't realize, I suppose. They did say they spoke about it a lot. I mean, I didn't realize until playoffs started that was the case. Because the Grand Slam is important in terms of it's $1 million. It's not that important in terms of prestige. But what is important is that you told me Ents were going to beat Navi.
Yeah. Okay, though I do have to say the other side of the bracket I was kind of right on because I said Vitality was looking good and I said Gambit was going to lose.
That's true.
So true. I'll take 50% on this one, to be honest.
Sure.
I'll take.
I just don't see anyone beating Navi at the current moment. Like Simple barely even I say barely even showed up. He wasn't that insane in the final, and they still won. And I think so much credit has to go to Bit. Like that guy is insane. He's so good, and he's a teenager still. He's come in, he's replaced Flamey, and Navi have just become one of the best teams of all time. And it's a real shame for them that their period of dominance has come when there are no lands.
Yeah,
or that they won the one land that there was on. There's no doubt in my mind that they are the best team in the world, and if this was a time when we were on LAN, people would realize that this Navi team is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Bit was like the shining star in the series for me, right? Like Bit, Perfecto had a lot of really good moments. Obviously, Simple did as well. There was no one on that team that wasn't playing well.
Yeah,
and it seems to be that's the. Well, yeah, I was gonna say it seems to be that isn't normal for Navi. Normally, it's one person takes over, but it seemed like everything was coming together on this one. That they all came together throughout all the maps, right? And it did go to 5 maps. It wasn't like this was like a 3-0 or 3-1. So this went to 5 maps. This was a long series.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Shocks. I've never been a big Shocks fan. I've never thought. I definitely had my doubts when he joined Vitality, but he was playing out of his mind this tournament.
And
he is he's scary again.
Yeah, the Shocks is really, really scary, and Zywoo looked really, really good as well.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, obviously, right?
yeah, but it just we saw this other thing that we hadn't seen for a while, which was Vitality being good and not Zywoo being the only person there, right? Shocks was
Yeah.
there, Kyojin was there across a couple of maps, right? There was good play. We didn't see the God Masuda that we saw like 2 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah,
yeah, I guess 2 weeks ago.
it's
Whenever we saw
impossible.
God Masuda, but
It's impossible to know how good Masuta is.
yeah,
That nobody in the world can have any idea how good he is.
including
He
Masuda.
is, including Masuta. Like for like a month, he was the best player in the world, and now
Yeah.
he's just like invisible again. It's like,
Yep.
are you actually really good? And you're like, what's going on? Like, I
No one
genuinely have
knows.
no idea how good he is.
So I guess with that, let's talk a little bit about. Do you have anything more to say on Navi specifically?
Electronic looked like the player he did a year ago or 2 years ago. He had a bit of a slump when Bit joined because Bit was just like taking over and being the second best player on that team. But he was back to like god tier mode,
Hmm.
and that is frightening.
Okay. Okay. Um, I have there's a lot that I have. I think Navi looks really really good in this tournament. I think that Navi beat a lot of really good teams to get here too. I don't think it was they beat a bunch of pushovers as
Oh yeah.
much as they did beat Ents. They also had to beat Heroic and they had to beat this really, really good inform Vitality, which I think at this point there's no question. I don't think there was question before this, but there really isn't a question now that it is simple over Zywoo. And it's just not funny how like
Some people thought Device was better than Simple. So
we'll talk about Device later, and we have some questions about that. But I think that Navi has proven again that they are really a force to be reckoned with, especially when everyone's going off. Right on a normal day, when it's just simple, or it's just electronic, or it's just bid, or it's just perfecto. Right, they're vulnerable, and I say vulnerable like strong air quotes and stuff because like it's still simple, right? But when every single person is firing, they're unbeatable.
my favorite stat from the final was that Simple. I mean, he had quite an underwhelming final by Simple standards,
Yeah,
and he went, was it 28-7 in opening duels?
that sounds about right.
He won 80% of his opening duels in
That's
an
ridiculous.
underwhelming performance. That's obscene. Like no, like 80% is ridiculous. If you have above 52%, you're like an elite tier entry fragger. If you like with high, if you take a lot and you win 55%, you're a sensational entry fragger. Simple won 80% in that final, and it wasn't even his best performance.
Yeah,
The guy is cracked. He's beyond superlatives at this point. He's just insane.
he absolutely is. He absolutely is. I want to move on to the rest of EPL playoffs really quickly. I want to talk about some other things. I thought the best game up until the grand final, which was a really, really, really good game, right? I thought that the best game up till that point, that is a game that I'd go rewatch about a million times over, was the Heroic Liquid game.
That
That
refresh clutch.
I'm pretty sure anyone from North America is going to have PTSD if you say refresh just anywhere near us.
Because of his time on Cloud9, or
Yes, because of his time on Cloud9. And also that clutch.
yeah,
That
that was insane. I wasn't watching that game live, and I saw people going on about this clutch, and I was like, okay, it must be pretty good. But then people went on and on about that Cadian 1v4, which I didn't think was actually that good. It was just the casting made it that good. And then you
yeah,
watch
but
this refresh clutch, I'm like, he's got a Galil. Like it can't like any clutch you win with a Galil is already impressive. To 1v5 with it is insane.
the only way he could have made it harder was if he used the FAMAS.
Then it wouldn't be possible. Like it's not
Statistically the worst weapon in the game.
he would shoot about 8 bullets at the first guy and then die. It'd be awful.
Yeah.
No, like he wins a 1v5 with the gal. Like that cannot go understated. Like,
Yeah, it
anyone who
wasn't with
could
an
use
AK, not an AWP, not an M4. Good
yeah,
luck.
like 1v5s with the AWP barely even count. Like Come on, anyone can do that. With a Galio, nah, that's different gravy. That is special.
Yeah, no, that was a slugfest of a game, and bringing it to overtime, the way that Liquid brought it back on Inferno, I don't know how much you looked into this, right? But the way Inferno went just was like all heroic. Then Liquid had this insane comeback to bring it into overtime, and then the refresh clutch that took them out of it. That was an insane match, and then Inferno map is like one to rewatch. Nip looked like trash.
Yeah.
They lost to OG. Anyone that loses to OG is trash. Like, let's be real here.
That's harsh. I mean, OG.
Okay, that is
OG
really harsh.
did look pretty good. I thought it should be a lesson to NIP. In my eyes, from my point of view, it should be a lesson that OG spent a fraction of what NIP spent on Device on Flames.
Yeah.
And look at the difference, man. That kid's special, dude.
Let's do something odd right now and answer a listener question in the middle of everything.
Ooh.
We're going to answer them in the middle because we only have 2 questions today and they both relate to other topics. So
wasn't ready for that.
So from our Discord, Merkio last week asked us after we recorded what our thoughts on Device struggling to frag out on Nip were, right? And I think some of that is due to not having a 5th player. I think we're gonna always say it's due to not having a 5th player, right?
Yeah.
Because like respect to Linus, right? But like you're not a normal 5th player. You came up from the academy roster and you haven't really
in place of a different academy player.
Yeah, like them out. So that's on its own. But I think that we were all saying, maybe Device is Glabe's greatest cog in the Astralis machine. And then he left Astralis and we were like, okay, well, maybe he's going to do well. Maybe he's going to do well. Maybe he's going to do well. And we just continuously had faith in this and said, well, maybe he's not like the cog in the machine. I think it's time to say he was the cog in the machine. I think Device is a really good player. Like, let's be real here. He is an extremely good player. But I think Glave's in-game leading and the structure and the system that Zonic and Glaive built around them cannot be understated in Device's success.
So I have a lot of thoughts about this. I mean, they signed the right arm of Exodia without signing the head. And as everyone knows, you need all 5 parts of Exodia to win the game. But you massively overspent on... Even if you believe he's the best player in the world, which you're insane if you do, but even if you believe that, $1 million when he's out of contract in 6 months is insanity.
Terrible deal.
Doesn't make any sense. To then ham it up as saying, we've signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Good optics, by the way. Lost to young boys. Just saying. Man United, that will be lost on you. Man United re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo and lost.
I got that. I actually did get that.
Okay, wonderful.
Once in a while, I get football things. Once in a while.
Yeah, so, excellent optics from them, really. Like, and NIP losing 2-1 to OG, Man United losing 2-1 to Young Boys, something there. But it's just... I don't know what they thought they were signing. Like, anyone who's watched Astralis knew that Device was incredible at abusing the space given to him, but that space was given to him by the fact that you have Glaive and Dupree. Yeah, like you can't just plug a play like that. I mean, we saw it with Cold Zero on FaZe. You see it, when you
see it anytime you have one of these like major players move, right?
Yeah, like
every single time.
The only player that does the opposite is Nico, where Nico forces his team to play around him, and then they all play worse, and he just goes supernova. Whereas, I don't know, you only had to watch Astralis to know that this is what Device was, and I'm baffled that people are surprised that Device isn't going crazy on NIP. He's not a takeover player. That's not what he is. He's probably the best passive AWPer you'll ever see. But he's a passive AWPer. That's what he
Yeah.
is.
I think that's the only time, one of the only times ever you'll see Device fall into the same column as Cajun B.
Yeah. It's like signing Scottie Pippen and expecting him to drop 40 points every game. Like, that's not why you're signing Scottie Pippen. It doesn't make sense.
Now we're getting good references here.
Yeah, I thought I've been grinding NBA 2K this week. I got the basketball references. Like,
all right. Let's move on from Pro League now. We have some other things to speak about. The first thing being the most important thing for you in your life. South has gone south.
oh, bro, this is so fucking embarrassing. Like,
was it 25 days?
How do you not even? Don't get me wrong. I'm quite knowledgeable when it comes to not lasting very long, but less than a month for the team. The promo for this team lasted longer than that. Like, they were building up this fucking team for longer. I just don't get it, man. Like, I've mentioned this elsewhere, and other things. Danish CS is in a fucking hole, and it's sleepwalking into oblivion. Nobody seems to notice. Astralis, just aren't the same team anymore.
No.
Heroic are probably going to get one of their players banned, or maybe two. I mean,
or maybe the whole team. We don't know.
Yeah, they've already lost.
The drama still continues.
Refresh and Shush should be fine because they weren't there when it happened. But Heroic are in a legal battle. North obviously don't exist. MSL and AZ are insistent on just building new teams and blowing them up after a month. Like, this happened twice now. Hyenas and then South. Obviously MSL wasn't on Hyenas, but they last about as long as an NA team does. Danish CS is in a fucking hole, and nobody is talking about it. The tier 2 Denmark it's Astralis.
Yeah, and then
there's one tier 2 Danish team, but it's Astralis. That's fucking horrifying. It's in a mess, and nobody seems to notice. Unless Copenhagen Flames just somehow become a genuinely good team, or it's gonna what happened to Sweden is gonna happen to Denmark, where they just fall entirely off the map.
Yeah, they just have those two top teams, and then that's it.
Even for a while, they didn't even have that.
But even both those two top teams in Sweden have both decided that they need to go international to a degree, right? Like, Device is technically international, even though he speaks Swedish and lives in Sweden and stuff like that. He's international, and the two new players off Fnatic are British, which, side note, whoever thought we would have said that line ever.
Mezzi looks pretty good, to be fair. Although
Mezzi's looks very good.
Side note, I don't know if any of you saw Maui Snake's tweet about Mezzi, but he clearly got annoyed at people talking about how good Mezzi was, and he was like, and he actually changed my point of view on Mezzi, where he was talking about how he did have the highest rating on Fnatic, but he had the lowest impact, and I was like, you're clearly a little bit angry about this, because I don't know, the way he framed it was quite angry, but he made a good point. I was like, actually, it's kind of interesting, because I think at Cloud9 he had quite a high impact rating but a lower actual rating, and now he has got a lower impact rating but a higher rating. So clearly it's a tactical choice to sort of have Mezzi as one of the cleanup guys, which is interesting.
I want to continue on this conversation about dead scenes. Can we have a scene death and power ranking here?
Well, NA is
Well, no, I think it's actually China first, because Taiwan literally doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, I miss somebody.
Captain Mo, man. All right,
Captain Mo is a weird player. He could literally only deagle. He was an AWPer, but his best weapon was his deagle. He was absolutely lethal on deagle. He's just terrible at rifling.
Yeah,
strange.
So China, then North America, then Denmark. I think is the.
I think Sweden. I guess Sweden's on the rebound, where it's it's starting to come back up. Whereas Denmark I think it's in free fall, man. And I think it's similar almost to what happened to Brazil when Brazil had SK and then they had like Immortals, and then they had all these decent like tier 3, tier 4 teams, and then
they
SK
just
fell off a cliff. Immortals,
and all they had was Furia starting to be okay.
yeah,
But now they're back to a decent place where
and now
they've
it's
got
like Furia are up here, and then like I like Fallen is back with a team that's doing well, and like
and then you got
Cold
like
Zero is now
Pain.
on Complexity.
You've got
And
like
Pain,
Pain
I
and
think
stuff.
Pain is so good, but I think they're gonna come up
we've
soon.
got who is it? Team One.
Yeah, I mean Team One are terrible, but
who cares?
like they're really bad. But Malvis just needs a team, bro. Like,
someone say Mobs MD.
Like it's not on. Like Team One just looked awful at Pro League, and Malvis still looks good.
Somehow we started this conversation with Team South.
I mean, it's only fitting that we end it by talking about
Mobs MD,
bad teams. Yeah.
Legija will be coaching big for the time foreseen. The current coach Dude has dropped out for a little bit due to some personal issues, in which the team has asked us to respect him during said personal issues.
Yeah.
Legija is coming back from his stint on a team you haven't heard the name of in a while, which is Envy.
Wow. Yeah, I had completely forgotten he was on Envy.
He was on Envy, and before he was on Envy, he was coaching Envy, and then he got signed to being a player on Envy.
Oh,
which was weird.
Wait, he was
a player on Envy. Yes,
he wasn't a good player when he was a player. What I will say is that must actually be quite off-putting. You sign a new player, and I think Gade is in-game leading as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you sign like a new guy, and you're working together with your coach, and then he has to drop out for whatever reason. That must be quite difficult to deal with when you've just like started a new with a new roster and new ideas, and then you change coach as well, and then that must create some instability. It's quite unfortunate for them.
I thought I had a statistic, but I don't have the statistic. It doesn't exist. I thought that Gade was going to be the highest member in Danish Counter-Strike ranked right now, but I forgot Heroic existed.
Yeah.
And then technically Astralis is above them, but like technically.
Yeah. Surely NIP are as well.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe Gade is the lowest ranked member in Danish Counter-Strike right
now. That is such a strange move. We didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this.
Even though it technically kind of makes sense, it makes absolutely no sense.
Zero. None.
I can't put it together in my head. Like Gade on bit. Like I'm really happy for him. I love Gade. I think he's a great. I think he's a really mechanically gifted player and surprisingly thoughtful as well about the game. But it sort of makes sense, and anything that allows Tabson a little bit more freedom, I'm on board for, because that guy is great.
He's so good.
I fucking love Tabson. He's insane. But yeah, like that move was just so odd. Like I heard about it just before it happened, and I was like, "Wait, are you sure?"
I think you said I think you sent me a message about it, and I was like, "You sure you didn't mistype this?"
Yeah, like what?
Like I'm actually like decently sure I said that.
Yeah, Gates. I don't know, man. That's so
we all thought it was gonna be We all thought it was gonna be Favin.
Like, yeah, I think I don't know. Favin just loves being on Sprout, I guess. He's in Elo hell.
Next update from this week. Evil Geniuses, which used to technically be a North American team, is now an international team, at least for the time being. Daps will continue to stand in for Stanislaw during Blast, and now Breezy will be taking a mental health break, and Spellin will be in for this team. Yeah. They're not technically North American anymore. The only North American on the team is Daps, who's Canadian, who's the coach, who's standing in.
I'm not convinced Spellan is a real person.
And Obo. Sorry. Oh, I forgot about Obo.
I'm not convinced Spellan is a real person. I'm sure he's like, like I guess Football Manager and other games like that, like they have like
Yeah.
regens. I'm convinced Spellan like isn't a real person, and he's been on like 100 teams, and yet I've never seen him play, and cannot tell you a
Nope.
single thing he can
Literally
do.
never. Literally
I
have never
think
seen him
is
play.
he the in-game leader? Is that Spellan? Was he not on like Mad Lions and then like left?
He was, yes, he was on Mad Lions.
And he like left. I was like,
but he was on the Mad Lions post when we talked to Regin, right?
Yeah.
But pre Borup.
Yeah, so
which
like
I do have to say that doesn't really narrow it down. There's like 4 versions of the team in between there.
Yeah.
But
he just seems to like flit around joining teams that don't ever actually play any tournaments. So I'm quite interested to see like if he's actually real or not.
He was on that Wendigo team that went decently far a while back.
Yeah, but I'm convinced that was a mirage. I'm convinced they were like a group hallucination. Because like they all look really good, and now like not a single one of them seems to have got, other than Poison, I suppose.
Poison, Ships and Bubble never looked bad. There was a rumor
Ships
for a
was
while.
Really good.
Wasn't there a rumor for a while about like Ships coming over to EG?
Yeah, I think so.
That was a thing.
Which would have made more sense than Spelland, because Ships is really good.
Yeah, and they're all on, some of them are on Skate now. I guess it's just Ships that's on Skate now. But
yeah,
like, most of them, I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the one positive here is that hopefully Breezy takes a break and comes back and is Breezy again instead of like.
I hope he looks like Breezy.
You know, the ghost of Breezy that we've seen for the last couple months.
The ghost of Breezy's past.
Yeah, like he was the absolute shadow of his former self. If he comes back and he's like on fire, fine. Like I'm really happy with that. But
yeah,
other than that, like EG are just like, I don't know, they're staying together for the kids.
Yeah. So information I got from Twitter this morning, which
always a reliable source.
Always reliable source. It was actually from Yanko, so this might actually be reliable. And it probably is, considering I could have just Googled the information and found it out myself. Which is Stanislaus' break was supposed to end for Blast, but he's extended it past Blast.
Interesting.
So we've joked about the Stanislaus, the you know how Daps gets Stanislaus on every team, right? This might actually be the reverse Daps might be happening.
Yeah, I mean, EG do seem intent on like downgrading in every position, so I guess it makes sense, right?
Yep.
They're gonna bring back Fugly in a minute.
God, no. I'm pretty sure he's deep in Valorant right now, man. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to have a sidebar.
I assume any player I haven't heard of for a while is now a Valorant player.
We have to have a sidebar for a minute, because we have to talk about Valorant for like half a second, because this involves a lot of Counter-Strike players, and this can't be good. Okay? So I found a tweet the other day from a reliable source in Valorant, okay?
Yeah.
TSM Valorant is in talks with Nifty to create a quote-unquote super team, which involves, are you prepared for this?
Sure, why not?
Nifty in Opper, Wardell in Opper, JDM in Opper, Hazed, he's hazed, and Sabrosa.
Sabrosa's good, to be fair.
Sabrosa's good. I
mean, they're all decent.
Wardell has been very good in Valorant, but like, this can't end well.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember JDM saying when he like got cut from his most recent CS team. I remember him saying he worked really hard on his rifling, and he was like confident he could rifle now. Which I guess if he's then become a Valorant player, he probably does rifle now, which is weird.
Really this whole team is weird. I'm really excited to. I really hope this becomes a thing, because I really want to watch this team, because it's going to be weird. Sorry about that sidebar about that other game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize Nifty had gone to Valorant, but it makes sense.
He hasn't. He's been just dead since literally the Envy project died, and that's the last we've heard of him.
If you're American, you haven't like booted up CS for 4 days, you are just now a Valorant player. It's just how it works.
Oh, thank God I played Counter-Strike last night.
Yeah.
All right. We got one more topic? One more? Two more
One
things.
more
We have
time.
two more things. Two more
Two more
things.
things.
So one thing that we wanted to talk with our guest about, but we're going to talk about now and then probably again next week. Fragadelphia happened this weekend. It was a real LAN that happened in person with people and shit talking, which was cool. It was very nice to
Fragadelphia
watch.
is genuinely the most American thing I can think of.
Oh, absolutely. I was supposed to go this year. I couldn't go, but like I was ready to go, man.
Like I just assume everyone just like when you see people like break cans in half and drink from the middle of them.
Yes.
I
You mean
just assume
shotgun?
people
Yes.
do that with I assume people like shotgun like light beers that like the
Bud Light, yeah.
shittiest light beer possible just
Yeah, but
all
that
the
would be Bud
time.
Light. Yep.
There you go. Like I just like shotgunning Bud Light and just only eating like barbecued meat for like a week. And I know that that's not what Philadelphia is like,
No.
but
See,
like this is the
it's not
most
barbecued
American
meat.
thing in Counter-Strike, so I'm just going to stereotype the fuck out of it.
It's not barbecued meat. It's Philly cheesesteaks.
Oh, Philly cheesesteak. I mean, I could.
But the rest of it's all true.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff that actually happened that was pretty cool there. They had a really nice HUD, which I wasn't expecting, but was really nice. Bad News Bears won against Party Astronauts in a pretty good match. It was
No
enjoyable to
surprise there.
watch. No surprise at all. I think everyone expected Bad News Bears to get through the whole thing, and win. Party Astronauts is a weird team now because it's the ex New England Whalers players plus Cynic.
Yeah, I've seen that team about a month or two ago, so I assume that like only two of the players remain.
No, they're all still there.
Oh wow,
They're all still there. Yeah.
Fair enough. Respect. Why did they change it? Is Party Astronaut an org?
No, I'm pretty
So
sure.
why did they change name? Did they like
New England Whalers was an org?
Oh, and they dropped them.
Well, no, they just folded.
Yeah.
I think they just folded. I have a couple things I'd like to say about Bad News Bears. First of all, I don't know if you read the HLTV article, but apparently Sheikh Zula said that they've started calling Junior Senior because of the way he plays post Furia, and I think that is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's also quite a worrying
Weird
thing.
Well, it's weird because you'd think that on a team with like art that you wouldn't play.
You have to slow down if you play with art. You have no choice. Like, you don't pull out in front of a car that's going 80 miles an hour. You slow down and go behind it.
I guess so. I guess you're right.
But that must be quite worrying though, because like
that is pretty.
He was quite an explosive AWPer, and he was quite a good player before. And Sheikh Zula sung his praises like to high heavens to anyone who would listen before.
Yeah,
and then
now he's saying they call him.
Now he's good. Oh yeah, no, he's shit now.
Great. I mean, hopefully the hope is that he figures his stuff out, right? Like that's always the hope. So the teams from this event, I'm pointing to. The motioning is to the second monitor, which has the event on it. Hence the hand motions.
Audio listeners are really
audio listeners
now.
Don't care. Yep. The prizing for this event was not only money but spots at the Fragadelphia Fall 2021, which is happening now. Now I want to say, we're gonna go with now. Yeah,
I have no idea.
Basically, it's a Blast Premier qualifier to get into Showdown later this year. And Extra Salt and Bad News Bears played the other day in a really, really close match that Extra Salt won, but like there were 3 ninja diffuses in the last like 7 rounds. It was kind of insane.
Whenever I watch Extra Salt play against NA teams, it always feels like it's close, and then it gets to like 12-12, and then Extra Salt just go, "Oh right, time to win now." It always feels like they have another gear.
No, this was like 15-9, and Bad News Bears kept winning rounds with ninja diffuses.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they went the opposite way.
Like, oh yeah, it's over now. That's right. That's how it always feels watching Extra Salt. Like, it always feels like they're going to win eventually. They just
at one point
they're going to start slowly.
They just got to get there.
Yeah.
All right. So last topic we have for the day. Phil, the guy that helps us write and edit TLDR stuff. our boss or whatever. Phil asked us a question last week, again after we recorded, that we wanted to touch on today, which was, what do we think about the new team in Turkey?
It's Eternal Fire, right?
I think it's called Eternal Fire. That
Eternal
sounds about
Fire.
right.
Issa, Calix, Woxic, Shantares, Emor.
Yeah, and Issa. Oh, you said Issa.
Yeah. I started with Issa.
Okay.
In theory, it's a really like high ceiling, low floor team. Like,
So
this team could be the 8th best team in the world, and you'd go like, oh yeah, I could see why. They could be the 108th best team in the world, and you go, yeah, I could see why. Like,
Yep.
this team is so volatile. It's unbelievable. Woxic has at times been one of the best AWPers in the world and just like complete dead weight.
And
like,
sometimes been terrible.
Shantares does that in the middle of a series. He'll be like the best player in the world on map 1 and then just invisible on map 2. Calix, nobody has any idea how good Calix is. He's really highly regarded.
Calix is like Mew. Anyone from that NV team that was like, that NV team was like their first team, so I guess just Calix and Mihu, realistically, it's just like an enigma.
Well, Calix was really highly rated on Space Soldiers back when Space Soldiers was a thing.
Yeah, when he had major IGLing him.
And he looked really decent at times. He would like take over maps and then he'd be quiet. And I was like, well, he's quite young. He's clearly talented. And then he just done like nothing. He's like Esperanto.
He went to Envy. That's why he did nothing.
Yeah, but like, it felt like he could have gone to, I don't know. Now I feel like he's probably just a busted flush. That's just my opinion. And then Issa. He's like a fucking, like a pogo stick. He's up and down, like, It's like, again, some games he's really like, when he was on Hellraisers, he looked like a fucking superstar. I was a massive Issa fan. I thought he was fucking brilliant.
And then he got to OG.
Well, no, at the end of his Hellraisers phase, he was already like falling off pretty hard, and I just put that down to, like needed a new environment, or Angel was sort of losing his spark, and he's just like done nothing since, and it like really annoys me because he was a fantastic player, and now he's just like kind of an also ran. But then if he refound his form, they could be a really good team. But the problem is they're gambling on 4 players finding consistent form that have never found consistent form.
I think the only player you're not gambling there on is Emor, which is weird because that seems to be the player that you would gamble on if you were casually looking at
you're gambling on him being any good.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the only player that there isn't crazy fluctuating expectations.
Yeah, pretty much. He's the IGL, I believe.
I'd hope so, considering everyone else on that team.
Yeah, that's all I'm basing it. I'm not basing it off anything else. He's got a pretty high rating if he is an in-game leader. He seems like a decent enough player.
And if he's not IGLing, then I really want to know who is.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. Oh God,
I can't see it. Maybe Issa?
I mean, maybe Calix. I don't know anything about Calix. Maybe he can in-game lead. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those situations. Just we all in-game lead. Like some hippie shit.
Oh yes, IGL by committee. How? Yeah, that has worked previously. Obviously.
Yeah, that can't go wrong.
No, not at all.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know. This team has a high ceiling, but there's like flip 4 coins. If they're all heads, this team could be a top 10 team in the world. If any of them are tails,
yeah.
What chance have you got?
All right, you got anything else for this week?
I can't think of anything else.
Well, that's good. Please, everybody, make sure to follow us on Twitter.
Dreamhack doesn't exist anymore. That's sad.
So, are you just unemployed now?
I mean, I'm in a perennial state of unemployment.
No,
like ESL announced their Pro Tour thing, and like Dreamhack Open no longer exists, which is sad because it's got a new name now for whatever reason.
Which is like ESL Challenger or something like that.
Yeah, it's just sad. But
I agree.
I might be working on some upcoming ESL events and stuff anyway, but yeah, it's kind of a shame.
No, it's really, really a shame because Dreamhack as a brand was sick. Even without the, I know they're continuing the Dreamhack brand, which is really good because to me the important part of Dreamhack brand was always the event of Dreamhack of like it's a space where everyone brings their own computers and you have this giant LAN party and also there happens to be esports going on.
Yeah,
Like
I fucking love DreamHack, but
that's such a awesome thing that's just not gonna happen
I mean
in the
I know
same way.
I
Like
know
it'll
some
still
of the
happen, but
people from DreamHack who've moved upwards towards ESL, um, and work in slightly different roles. Um, who I'm still in contact with. So if ESL are like getting some of the better people from DreamHack, they're definitely getting some really good people. But
and it's
it's
not that
it's a
they're
little bit of a
killing.
shit.
I don't think they're killing off DreamHack like at all.
No, but they're
I think it's
definitely
more focusing on what I was saying on like small esport tournament plus awesome giant LAN party music festival thing, which is what they
yeah.
used to be for a
They're
while.
they're definitely making their impact feel lesser, at least to the outside
Uh,
world.
the one big thing that I hope ESL continues that DreamHack did that really really enjoyed watching was the women's tournaments that they put on every year. That
Hmm.
they had the last year in COVID they had I think it was DreamHack Masters or something like that.
Rotterdam. Was it
No,
Rotterdam? Oh no,
no,
Rotterdam was though they had one female team who qualified via a female only.
yeah, that sounds about right. But seeing like the CLG Red team play and seeing the Galaxy Racers team play and that stuff has always been really cool to see just generally year round, and I hope that ESL keeps that through.
I always
Uh,
like when they allow one qualifier spot for a female team because it's always well, a you get to sort of gauge the level of them better than you can from just watching a female tournament.
yeah,
B you get these players get an opportunity to show and to improve as well. Like you're not going
yeah,
to improve at playing against teams worse than you all the time. Like we've seen that plenty of times. Whereas you give them the opportunity to play against these better teams, and it become they get an opportunity to get better. I mean, I was always on board for like the Asian minor spots in the major because how else are you going to help that region grow?
it's the same with
Um,
Oceania. Like that's literally how who else are you gonna play against?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you get to discover um, players who otherwise wouldn't be. I mean, Petra on Xset is like really fucking good, and
Yeah,
I actually would like to see her join like a mix. I know it's unlikely. I'd like to see her join a mixed team, like join a male team, because
she is really really good.
she's really fucking good. Like she was like dominating like decent like teams, like decent tier
Yeah,
2, tier 3 men's teams. Like she's really fucking good.
yeah, no, yeah.
And I think sort of being on Xset, the female team, to some extent is going to limit her because they don't get to play against these teams that often. But I mean, she's really fucking good.
I very much agree with that. All right, I think we're done now. I think we actually have nothing more to talk about.
I've got nothing more.
Well, as long as nothing random came in like the last 30 seconds. Okay, nothing random came in. We're good. We're ready. All right. Thank you very much for listening and watching this week. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Logan Ramhap, at Aizyesque, and at ReadTLDR. We will be back again next week, hopefully with our guest, who will be announced on Twitter so that we guys can ask questions. That's it from us. See you all next week.
See you next week.